Good news, editor's back, which is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful news. Hi, welcome to the Mozilla Fireface channel. I know I said I would be uploading more and I haven't uploaded since August? September? Something like that. Life got very busy and I had to deal with a lot of things, and I thought I would sit down today and tell you about the last day of my 20s, because on the last day of my 20s I made a list of different things that happened. I would call them events slash milestones slash achievements, and I wanted to share it with you because I was quite proud of it and I thought it would make a fun video. I know that not everybody is super interested in my life or what I've done in it, but I think that it's always fun looking back, and this channel is very much an ode to my 20s because I started this channel in my 20s. The very first thing that I wrote in this was that I almost married a Florida man. It was a very, very bad choice. I almost got married a couple of times because my family was constantly trying to set me up with people. So I didn't include that because that was very much out of my control. Almost marrying the Florida man, now that was my choice. I mean, I'm so grateful that he broke it off because I got a tattoo, because American Faye would have been a very, very different Faye. I'm pretty sure that tattoo absolutely fucking saved my life. All the red flags were there. He was an absolutely bad choice. I mean, firstly, he's from Florida. Secondly, he was 11 years older than me, and I met him when I was 21, 22. So he was a man in his 30s, and honestly, being 30 now, I could not imagine dating someone that's 10 years younger than me. Ew. Anyway, the second thing I accomplished in my 20s is that I volunteered at a lot of cool places. I couldn't find work soon after leaving my dad's house because I had been a carer in my home for about 2 years while my mum was dying, and then she passed away, and then I had to look after my siblings. So for a few years after sixth form college, I didn't work. I also wasn't really expected to work. The impression was that I wasn't allowed to work, but anyway. So after I left my dad's house, I did a lot of volunteering to build up my CV, but also to just get out there and meet people, because I was a very, very lonely 20-year-old. I volunteered at a lot of different places. I volunteered at the Yellow Pavilion, which was basically my second home. I'm kind of gutted that it doesn't really exist anymore. It got transferred to a new place, and then that place got shut down, and it was this whole thing. But that place was my second home. I've definitely slept in there. I ran a number of workshops and helped with even more of them. I ran a creative writing workshop. We only had a few attendees to that, but it's a memorable time. I did it with one of my best friends, and yeah, I just have really, really happy memories about it. The regional manager, or the people who were in charge of the Yellow Pavilion, I think it was at Christmas time, or it was New Year's, around that time, and I was hanging out with everybody. This was very much still when I was a hijabi, very much still Muslim, so I wasn't drinking or anything, but there were drinks at this event. One of the higher ups who was in charge of the Yellow Pavilion, I remember so vividly that she came up to me in a half-drunken state, and she said, "You look like a wonderful human." And I thought to myself, that is something that an alien or a vampire would say, so get away from me. But obviously I couldn't say that because she was essentially my boss's boss's boss. I mean, I was a volunteer, so it didn't really matter, but she called me that, and then she signed me up for a project, right then and there. It was called The Humans of Wembley, which ended up putting me on a billboard in Wembley, which my family were very upset about. They were very upset about it, but I was super proud of it. I don't know if I can find a picture of it. It was in a news, a local newspaper. It wasn't a huge deal, but for me as like a sheltered 20-year-old, like it was a massive deal. I was like, my face is on a billboard, what? I spoke about my workshops, I spoke about volunteering at the Yellow Pavilion. They had like a little blurb. It was awesome. It was one of the best things that I did, I feel like. I also volunteered at a community library. I just helped them like sort out their data entry and stuff like that. And it's where I met Alicia, who to this day is my best friend, and I could not be more grateful for that opportunity because I met my best friend there. We made so many memories together, like with Alicia. Like we used to get we used to plan how we would do our hair, we used to plan how we would like do our makeup, we used to go out shopping and stuff and like figure out our styles. It was such like that. I feel like that's what your 20s are supposed to be about, you know, and it was great. I also volunteered at a football club, and that's probably where my passion for working with not like babies but like teenagers and young adults came from, because I got to work with a lot of people who were disadvantaged. It felt like really, really fulfilling work for me, which then led into a professional career of working in education and colleges for like 8 years. Yeah, I think that like it was one of the best things that I did for myself was volunteer like everywhere that I possibly could in my local area, because it gave me so much experience. Also gave me so many experiences to allow me to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, because let me tell you, your girl did not know anything. Your girl didn't know how to use a fucking bus, okay? Let alone what I wanted to do with my life. So volunteering really, really helped me work that out. I got my first job at Wembley Stadium. I was a steward at Wembley Stadium, and I had a couple of fun experiences there. It wasn't the best job, but it was more than anything a very frustrating job, because the job is to basically just stand somewhere for 8 hours. Sometimes on the pitch, if I was lucky and I got there early enough. Sometimes just in the cold stadium somewhere. So it wasn't the most fun job, but I still have some nice memories from it. Like I once worked at a Bruce Springsteen concert. It was one of the most chill concerts I've ever seen. Every time, I've never been to an actual concert like as an attendee. I was there as a steward, but from what I had heard about concerts and what I hear about concerts is that they're very loud, they're very rowdy, everybody's touching each other. It's a lot. For this Bruce Springsteen concert, oh, it was the most mellow concert ever. There was a pregnant lady just hanging out there. No jumping, no screaming, no fucking flying off the handle, just chilling. Maybe a couple of smokers in the crowd, and that was about it. That was about it. They're not allowed to smoke in the stadium. We had to tell them to stop smoking, but like, they weren't harming anybody. I also, this is a very vivid memory of working at Wembley Stadium. I once was standing on the pitch. They had assigned me to the pitch, and at the start of the game, they had brought out a live bull onto the pitch, and I was just like, the fuck is going on here? I've been to so many football games, I've worked at so many football games. Why is there a bull here? A bull has never been involved. I heard one of the other stewards say that the Hertfordshire team was playing today, and it's their ritual to let the bull loose in the stadium, which was the day I was on the pitch. It was the day I was on the pitch. They let him loose in the pitch, and they just let him wander around. It's like their good luck thing. And I got to pet a live bull in Wembley Stadium, which I feel like many people cannot say. I wasn't technically allowed to pet the bull. I was told not to pet the bull, but the bull was just there. So like, and I wasn't trying to get run over or anything. So if the bull wanted a pet, I was going to give it a pet. I started and finished my social psychology degree, which may not be a huge achievement for many, people in their 20s, because most of the time people in their 20s are doing their degrees and or their masters. So I know it's not a big deal, but I did my degree through the Open University, which means I did my degree basically all by myself over 5 years, and it's an achievement that I'm extremely proud of. I'm not used to feeling pride for myself, but it is something that I've decided I'm extremely proud of, because I don't know how I did that. I worked full-time and I studied part-time, and I made it work. I also got a first, which I was aiming for, but I did not expect to get, and I'm so over the moon that I did that, because oh my god, it opened so many opportunities for me. Like job searching, suddenly it was not as big a headache as it used to be, and I felt like I wasn't stuck somewhere anymore. Like I wasn't just stuck in dead-end entry-level jobs. I could actually go for other stuff, which, you know, really opened doors for me. I'm looking forward to starting a master's. Fingers crossed. The application is in, my references have been sent. Please give me positive vibes for me to be accepted on my master's course, because I've picked a good one and I want to be on it. It is a unique course that is only offered at the university that I applied to, and no other university offers it, and I would like to do that master's very, very much. Just telling the universe and you guys. I published 2 audiobooks, which I kind of almost forgot about, because the contract that I signed was only for 3 years, so it was only on listening platforms like Spotify and other places, and YouTube Music for like 3 years before the contract expired and everything was taken down, mainly because Movellas fell under, which was the main company that had made the audiobooks. I published 2 audiobooks through Movellas and Sony Music. I've been to the Sony Music headquarters in London. I took a bunch of pictures for them and did like a couple of interviews for them, and it was such a shining moment for me, because I remember I was still very much like living with families. I was living with my uncle, and I remember telling my aunt, who was like a little bit easier to talk to, and she was just like, oh my god, that's such an achievement. And I was just like, I can't believe someone is finally happy for me, because it always feels like I'm doing everything wrong. Yeah, and I've actually uploaded those audiobooks onto my channel. If you want to watch them, I might leave them in the description somewhere. But it was kind of surreal, I'm not gonna lie. I met other authors who had also been published through Sony Music and Movellas on that day that I went to the headquarters, and it was such a lovely time. We went to the park, we near died to some swans, but that's a story for another day. It was the first time also that someone had taken professional pictures of me, aside from that billboard thing, which I can't remember if that was before or after, but I feel like the Sony Music thing was the first time someone had taken professional pictures of me, and I remember looking at them and going like, damn, I look good. I look good. I look really good. And I remember that being like such a happy moment, because the photographer, when he had heard I'd never gotten professional pictures taken of me, he was so excited. He started posing me, putting me next to the lake, putting me next to a tree, putting me fucking everywhere, just to take these pictures so I would have them. And he was really sweet. He was really, really sweet, and it's such a nice memory. I went to the cinema for the first time in my 20s. I think I was 22, maybe 23. I'd never been to the cinema before. I went to the cinema for the first time with my uncle's family, and we watched Despicable Me 3. That is a significant memory for me, because I'd never been in there before. I didn't know what it was. I had seen it in like TV shows and in cartoons and stuff, like the concept of a cinema, but I'd never crossed the threshold of one. So it was a monumental moment for me to finally walk into a cinema and watch a movie there and have cinema popcorn and like have the experience. I've been to the cinema many times since then, sometimes by myself, because sometimes I like watching a movie on a big screen by myself. It's honestly one of the most goated things that I do. We're getting into sad territory now, because my life is sad. In my 20s, I cut ties with my whole family after a long drawn out bid to try and get me arranged married, when I explicitly said no many times. That's about as much as I'll say about that in this video, because I've made potentially too many videos about my family, or just the right amount. Like, I don't necessarily need to rehash it in this video, but like, I cut out my whole fucking family. Like, one night, I think I had gotten caught or something like that. Like, I was at my friend's place, or my boyfriend's place, when I was pretending to be at a different relative's house, and I had gotten caught. And that night, I remember thinking, fuck it, I don't need my family anymore. I have a job at Wembley Stadium. I can find a place that's cheap in London. Told you, this girl did not know how to use a bus, okay? I did not say I was smart. I can find a place. I have my friends. Fuck it. So I got caught. I went home, like, back to my uncle's house the next day. Packed all of my shit silently. Like, my aunt was there. She was so mad at me. She was so mad at me. But she really didn't want to be. Because she understood. And I know she understood. But, like, I packed my shit quietly. All into, like, a bin bag and a suitcase. And I walked out. And I haven't looked back since. I remember I had a few words with my aunt, and I just told her, I'm leaving, I'm not coming back. And she was like, I don't want you to couch surf. This sounds like a really not very well put together plan. And it wasn't, to be honest. It was just a snap decision where I'd just gotten fed up. I was fed up of living in restriction, like not being treated as an adult, not being treated as like an equal to other family members, and also just having no control of my life. I was so sick of people trying to marry me. Like, so sick of it. Within my choice or outside of my choice, I was so sick of it. I was like, I think without a home for like 2 weeks, which was a little bit scary, but I had a support system at the time, so it could have been more scary. But after those 2 weeks, I found in my 20s, I found the best landlord in London. And I say that with my whole fucking chest. You know me. I'm not going to sit here and glaze up a landlord for no reason. This landlord, it was like the first place I checked out as well. And oh my god, met the landlord. He's like a sweet 70, 80-year-old man. Said that his parents used to let lodgers stay in their house, and this was his parents' house. He was kind of moved by my story, which is why he let me stay. The rent, including bills, like not bills separately, including bills and internet, was £390 a month, including bills and internet. This landlord also would always check the fire alarms for me. Every month he would come around to check the fire alarms. Every month he would also come around to replace our toilet paper, our liquid, our bleach. He knew all the tenants quite intimately, but lived in a different location, so he didn't live on the site. He was just the best, man. He was just the best. When I would tell my coworkers or my friends about this, they were just like, how did you find the magic man? How did you find the magic man? And I don't know. I'm telling you right now, it was the first place that I fucking looked into. It was the first place. And I remember I was talking to the tenant that was leaving. So the room that I was taking, she was living in at that time. And I remember she sat me down and she said, you have a golden opportunity. Do not say no when he asks you if you want to live here. Live here. Because, oh my god, you will not find a better landlord. She was so right. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad I made that decision. It was my first place by myself that I lived in. It took some time for me to feel like I belonged. It always takes me a little bit of time. It takes like a year. Don't ask me questions. I don't know. But it takes me a while to like start feeling like I belong in a certain place. And it was the first place that I felt like I belonged. Like, it was the first place that I called mine. Obviously I started this channel there. Like, a lot of the videos on this channel were recorded there. Very few of the videos that have been recorded in this house, which I would like to change, but like, this channel started on the first day in that house. It started on the first day that I moved in to that house, and I will always remember that, and I will always remember my landlord, and I will always be grateful for him. He was so nice that during the pandemic, for 2 months, like at the start of the pandemic, he said no rent. I don't know how I found him, but I'm so glad that I did. I survived my crisis in faith. In that time, I moderated loads of discussions, loads of debates, I went to loads of events. I really found my passion for talking about myself. Because obviously I already had the YouTube channel, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of keeping an online digital journal. It was in my time of like being part of that movement where I really found some talent for telling my story and talking about myself, like it really helped me get out of my funk, because I was a very, very sad 20-something year old for most of my 20s. I made a podcast with my friend Cole, who reached out this year, and I was so surprised that he reached out this year. I'm really happy that he did. But we made a podcast together called Out of the Fold. We did it for many episodes, and I think they're still online. I should look through them at some point. And that's actually one of the few projects that I did in that time that I'm super proud of. Like, I was very, very proud of younger Faye for doing that, because Cole was a very understanding individual. And that's exactly what I needed. I didn't need like a parent. I didn't need like a figure to look up to. I just needed someone who would understand me to understand me. And Cole definitely provided that. I also spoke at Bristol University about leaving Islam with Faith to Faithless. Through it all, like through the whole transition of like leaving my faith, having this huge crisis in faith, becoming like quite self-hating, to like peace, I really started to understand who I was and why I believed what I believe, and it really started to like dawn on me that these were deeper things to think about than just like, you know, you pray 5 times a day and that's it. Like, that's why do you do that? Who do you worship? Are they worthy of worship? Like, all these bigger questions I started to answer, and I slowly started to really understand myself and the world around me. It was not fun. It was not fun. I would not recommend. I would not do it again. It was an extremely stressful time for me. I discovered in my dating life that anyone named Andrew, or like a variation on that name, you are my personal antichrist. I'm so sorry. It was not decided by me. It was decided by the universe. I have never met an Andrew that I genuinely get on with. They always seem like hollow fucking no pupilled demons that are out to get me, and I don't know why I have this prejudice. It's just been the case throughout my life, so it's just not gonna work. Andrews are my personal antichrist. I dated Patricia Hodge's son for over a year. Patricia Hodge, she's a British actress here in the UK. It was a complete fluke. I did not look for Patricia Hodge. I actually didn't know who she was before I started dating her son. But it is a certain claim to fame that I dated her son. I identified my arch nemesis, who will not be named. I dated Thor, and I'm pretty convinced that it was the real mythological Thor. He was from Iceland. He had 2 cats. He fit the bill. He had a hammer in his house as well, but that might just be because his name is Thor and people would get him a hammer. I had a really nice time with Thor. I just wanted to say that. I got my little turtle, who was the light in my life through the pandemic. I miss her so much sometimes, because she was just the best. My turtle is my hamster, by the way. I know, confusing, but Turtle was my hamster. She passed away a few years ago now, but I got her like, I think in the 2nd year of the pandemic, like right at the start of that year, because I was like, I've had enough. I can't see my friends. I can't go outside. I'm fighting with everyone in the ex-Muslim community. I need a pet. So I went to Pets at Home and I got myself a pet. Also, my landlord let me have a pet. He didn't let anyone else in the house have a pet, but he let me have a pet. So I got Turtle, and let me tell you this, okay? Turtle, a hamster that does not speak English or communicate really that effectively, taught me more about existence than any member of my family. And I say that with 100% certainty. Turtle taught me about the benefit and joy of food. She taught me about regular sleep cycles and activity cycles. She taught me about communication and trust, and she was the best thing in my life, and there's nothing anyone can do to convince me otherwise. She is the best money I've ever spent. She is the best everything. I love her. She's the best. And I hope everyone that is watching me, all of my friends, all of my family that may still be stalking me, I hope you understand that you beat by by a fucking hamster. I moved in with my current partner. We've been together, this year will be 5 years. And let me tell you, it was a real stressful transition. But it took me a while to settle in, and I finally feel like this place is my home. I'm really happy about it. I don't really want to go into too much about my current relationship because my partner's not online and I would, not like to out him like that. It's been a good time. It's been a really good time, guys. It's been a really good time. Through my 20s, I visited lots of cities in the UK. My favourites are Liverpool, Manchester, Cambridge. They're some of my favourite cities in the UK. I visited loads of them. I collected like a bunch of postcards. Every time I used to visit a new city in the UK, I would get a postcard from like a touristy kind of shop so that I could keep the memory of which cities I've been to. And it was really fun exploring the UK because I lived my whole life pretty much in London, except for the few times that we went to Bangladesh. We'd spend months there, but I had never been to any other city in the UK. I remember as like a really small kid we went to Wales, but I don't remember it. I did like little excursions, like I would take like a day trip out to Cambridge to see Simon or something like that, and it was always so much fun because I was with someone I liked. I also visited the Netherlands. I visited Amsterdam and Rotterdam when I was in the Netherlands. The best thing that happened in Amsterdam was that I experimented with shrooms, and nobody could tell until I tweeted publicly that I was on shrooms, and then they displayed it on one of the TVs in the event hall, which was really funny because then everybody kept coming up to me and saying, "Did you tweet that?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, obviously." As for the last few things, there's a few things remaining. I quit drinking. Not that I had a particular problem with drinking, I just realized that I fucking hate it. I fucking hate drinking. I fucking hate forgetting things and feeling hungover, even though it takes a lot for me to feel hungover. I've only had like maybe the really bad hangovers I can probably count on one hand because, as I said, I don't like drinking. Like most of the time when me and Alicia went out drinking, I'd have like one or two, unless we were going absolutely insane that day, and then we would drink loads because people were buying us stuff. My standard was always like, get one drink. If I still want another, I'll get a second one. If I still want another, I'll get a third one. But usually that's the cut-off point. Like I don't really go for more than 3 unless I'm with someone who's throwing down, because I could tell you a story of someone who threw down. Actually, I've thrown down a few times when it comes to drinking with people, but it's more about the competition than it is about the drinking, So I just kind of gave it up. Also, I seriously started taking my medication, and like I was taking medication back then as well, but I was still drinking, and like you're not supposed to because it interacts with the medication, it interferes with its process. So because I wanted to commit to being medicated and not like planning to get off them or anything, it was just a good option for me to not drink anymore. So I don't do that. I've been sober for like a year and some. I don't think I'm gonna go back to drinking. I might have a social one every now and then, but it's kind of it's kind of I fixed my appetite finally. It's partially my partner's doing because he cooks really nice food. He cooks really nice food, so I feel hungry when he cook, and then it kind of sorted out my appetite. But it was something that I was really struggling with throughout my 20s, was just like knowing when to eat and like when not to. Sometimes it was a case of like I can't stop eating, and other times it was a case of like, oh, I haven't eaten in like 2 days. Why haven't I eaten in like 2 days? I still don't feel hungry, so I'm not gonna eat. It was a bad time, but it's better now because I have my appetite back. I mean, the lack of hunger was the main thing. Like I just didn't feel hungry ever, and now I do, which I feel like is my body telling me that like we're healing. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just telling you what I did in my 20s. So last Christmas, like the Christmas just gone, I got some time off work, and before I had gotten that time off work, I was doing a lot of knitting. but knitting takes like a super long time, and I learned how to knit when I was a kid, so I only know how to do like a couple of different types of stitches. So during the Christmas break, I had like 2 weeks off, and I sat down and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to crochet. I'm gonna look up a YouTube video. I'm not gonna be super hard on myself. I'm gonna use some like string that I have in my house to practice, rather than like buying yarn and investing in that. I'd bought the crochet hooks and stuff, and I used some string, and I learned to crochet from one single YouTube video over 20 minutes in Christmas. And I crocheted this top. Isn't it beautiful? This is 2 months of experience crocheting, and I made this. Like, aren't you proud of me? Honestly, my favorite fucking thing to do, because it's just like a quiet little thing. I fucking love it. Like, I don't know what it is, but like every time you do one, it just kind of feels like a little ooh in your brain. I know this is my mum's fault, because my mum was like really into like making clothes and stuff. She didn't know how to knit or crochet, but she would make clothes. She would make clothes for all of me and my siblings. So I know this is like the mum gene coming through and just being like, yes, do crochet, it's good for you, good for your brain, it makes you happy. I don't know why it makes me so happy, but I imagine it's because my mom was into making clothes, so I'm also into making clothes. I don't know. I've made like a bunch of stuff. I didn't really bring anything for display, but like, you can imagine I've made some stuff. I've put some stuff up on Instagram. I made 2 separate items for 2 different tattoo artists, and I've gotten free tattoos out of it. So we basically traded like knitted good for a tattoo. I'm having a lot of fun, guys. I'm having too much fun. That's why I haven't been on YouTube. And there's not been a lot of like sadness for me to report on. The next thing I wrote was that I worked in education for 8 years. I don't know why I put it so far down the list. I'm pretty sure I've worked in every further education college, FE college, in London. Like, I'm pretty sure I've got all of them except for like a couple. Because I did it for 8 years, and I did it like mostly on a contractual basis, it gave me a lot of opportunity to like hop from different colleges to like support different kinds of students in different places. It's such a stressful job. I was a student support assistant, so I worked mainly with disabled students, and the students were rarely the problem. It was always upper to middle management or parents that were the problem, or even teachers. It was rarely ever the students that were the problem that made the job really hard. Despite the hardship of it, I have a lot of good memories from working in education. I made so many friends, like friends who were within my age bracket. Not the students, obviously, like nobody's making friends with students. My co-workers, a lot of them were my age, so I made a lot of friends my age. There was also like this weird split in that department where they're either the workers are either like super young, like they're 19, 20, like early 20s or late 20s, and then it's like 40, 50, 60. Like there's a huge sort of divide in the age gaps, but it was a lot of fun. Because it meant that like I could go and hang out with my friends, but if I was having like a real problem either at work or at home or whatever, I could always just, hit up an auntie and be like, yo, I have this problem, can you help me with it, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a real adult, I'm just like in an extended teenage, so please help me. it was a nice environment. And then like the last place that I worked before I had my current job, which is not in education, the last place that I worked, I was there for like 2 or 3 years, and I fucking loved that place. It got unbearable towards the end, which is why like I was just feeling shit every time I came into work. I was just like, I don't want to be here, like what am I doing here? And the students were starting to like pick up on it, that I wasn't happy. So I got sick of it, but I still don't regret working there, because it was just nice. It was stable, it was nice. Most of my co-workers were really nice. My boss was really nice. The head of the department was super nice. It also exposed me to a lot of stuff, because I was studying at the same time. So being in a studying environment, even though I'm working there, really helped me figure out like my study patterns, and it made me work. It motivated me to work on my studies, and I feel like me working on my studies also encouraged the students to work hard in their studies, because they would see me studying and then they would be like, oh well, maybe we should do some of that. But yeah, that was my time in education. I'm not sure if I should mention this, but I'm gonna, because it happened in my 20s. I reunited with my sister after 8 years of separation. We had a falling out, but I still consider it a win. Like, we're not currently talking, but we met the year before and we spent like 6 to 7 months in each other's proximity. It was mostly nice, but we went our separate ways because we had a falling out. But I still consider that a win, because I was looking for her for a really, really long time. Like talking to social services, talking to the local council, talking to the police, talking to fucking everybody to find her. And I remember, like, when I was about 26, 27, I was just really feeling like that was the thing that was unresolved in my life, was that I just didn't have that sorted out. It's kind of sorted itself out. And we like made a formal report against my dad together and stuff like that. So it was significant for me and my sister, I think. I decided to start getting quite heavily tattooed. Listen. I've gotten a few DMs, like, in the last few weeks. Hey, when are you gonna stop getting tattooed? Never. Because I want a skin suit so bad. Look at me. Look at me. Am I not fucking interesting and gorgeous and beautiful? Why would I stop doing this? Maybe if I run out of money. I fucking love this shit. So no, I will not be stopping anytime soon. Look at me. Look at me. Doesn't it suit me? Am I not the person to be heavily tattooed? Such a good time. Such a good time. Made so many friends getting tattooed. You don't even understand how much of this has been a game changer for me. Because there were times in like the last few years where I could not look at myself. I literally don't have a full length mirror because I don't want to look at myself most days. But since getting all of this, I can't not look at myself, okay? I'm always just like looking at the intricate different art pieces. I'm looking at like all the tiny little details because it's so fun. And usually the people that I get tattoos from, like, they're really fun to be around. So we usually have like a super nice time getting the tattoo done, and then it's just like this wonderful memory. It's like there's no bad side to it. There's absolutely no bad side to it. I have I've run a D&D game, Storm King's Thunder, for those of you who play D&D. I've run it for years. I know I kind of started that by kind of crying because it's a little bit frustrating. Frustrating because of the players that are in my game. I'm really proud of myself because I don't think I've ever worked, like, aside from my degree, I don't think I've ever worked on an extended project for that long. That's like just sort of out of my brain, with the guidance of like the handbook, but the handbook isn't super helpful because a lot of the information is super sparse, so I have to do a lot of making up. I don't know, it's hard to explain in a video where I'm not just talking about D&D. It has homebrew elements in it. I made a really compelling villain sort of category because all of my players are too fucking strong for the base game, so I needed to make a more interesting sort of side enemy to really kick things up, and everything is going to be kicked up for those of you who are watching this video. Do not think that I will be pulling any punches in the coming sessions. You've been warned. I got another hamster. This hamster was named by my partner, and she is called Darth Mouse. You can see her on my Instagram because I sometimes post her, and I have like a little reel stories thing. But she's really cute, and I really love her. She's still very nervous, so I can't just like show her to you. Yeah, she's not quite ready for that because we only got her like at the start of the year, so she's not ready for all of that, but she's very sweet and very cute. And maybe in the future, if I'm still making videos, because let's be real, I've been slacking, but in future I might bring her out to show you. I got all my desired piercings. I recently got my seconds done. I went to Comic-Con in costume a few times. That was fun. I went as a Viking, as Vas Montenegro, and then I think I went a third time. Oh no, I didn't go a third time. The pandemic happened. I was supposed to dress up for that Comic-Con, we just didn't end up going, and I haven't been back since. To be honest, everything kind of went downhill and then back uphill after 25. I got a gaming PC. This is my new gaming PC. The one that is recording this video is my new gaming PC. Her name is Sarah, and I love her. I was really worried when I got her that she just wasn't going to work because she kept beeping, but then I like fiddled around in the desktop a bit and she started working, and I'm going to live long with her. I love her so very much, and I hope you'll be with me for a very long time, because I have never spent, well, that's not true, I have rarely spent this much money on something. That's not the important part though. You're a member of this family and I will take care of you. I got all of my diagnoses finally. I talked about it in a different video, so you can watch that video about it because it's long, but that was an uphill battle, let me tell you. Why was that so hard to do? I was like looking for a diagnosis for upwards of 10 years. Upwards of 10 years. And I only got them like a couple of years ago. Fucking dog shit. Anyway, the last one I have here, and it was only one that I remembered because I recently dyed my hair, was that I've dyed my hair almost every color in my 20s. That's probably going to be a theme for a lot longer. Although I haven't really had the urge to like go crazy with the colors. I did go blonde like at the start of the year, like these front pieces were blonde, but they started growing out pretty quick, so I dyed my head, like my whole ass head blue. Listen, at Christmas I watched X-Men, like the original X-Men movies, and I saw Rogue's hair, and I just could not talk myself out of not having that hair, so I did that to myself in my own bathroom. And then the blonde started growing out, so now it's blue, but that was the reason why the blonde was even there to begin with. So I wrote a little blurb after my list, and I'm just gonna read it. When I was growing up, my parents and my extended family had my whole life planned out for me, on my behalf and without my consent. The expectation was that the eldest sibling in my family, and the eldest granddaughter in my extended family, that I would be arranged to be married and I would have lots of kids, and that was my life. I spent the last years of my teenage looking after my siblings, my dying mother and my deranged father, so I wasn't all too keen on starting a family or marrying a stranger. My mother died, my father tried to take my life, and then my siblings were taken from me. I don't want to have children because I feel like I already had them, and they were taken from me as a punishment, and that's still a very deep wound to try and heal. I was told that if I reported my father, I would never be happy. If I didn't marry, I would never be happy. If I didn't wish for kids, I would never be happy. I will never marry, and I will never have kids. But I've found happiness. Maybe it's not complete, but it's not missing in my life either. Sometimes it's hard to accept it when you feel like you shouldn't have it, but it's there, and it puts a smile on my face every day, and I'm glad that I have chosen to be worldly and experienced when I was always warned against the joys of this world. And now I have a pretty good idea about the direction I want my life to go in. I'm not finding myself anymore. I'm found, and I belong, and I'm 30. Yeah, happy birthday to me. Happy 30 to me. I've been waiting for this time since I was like 26. I've been waiting to be 30 since I was like 26. Probably 27 is probably a bit more accurate, but definitely after 27 I was just like, I just want to be 30. Please just take me to 30. I'm tired of this extended teenage. I'm tired of being in my 20s. I'm tired of everybody expecting me to want to go outside all the time and fucking party and drink and just make a mess of myself. Like, I'm so done with that. I just want to be at home. I want to crochet and pet my hamster and like chill. Like, that's it. So that was my list. That's what I did on the last day of my 20s, and I'm really happy to be 30. Really excited for what the next 10 years have to hold, what this year has to hold. And I hope that this was like kind of a positive, insightful video. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about my life for a bit, so I hope you had a good time listening to me talk about my life. And if you have like any experiences you want to share before you turn 30 or after you turn 30, please let me know. Put it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, subscribe. And thank you for being here through this whole mess of a channel with me. For those of you who have been there from like day one, I really appreciate it. I did not think I would have a captive audience at all when I started my channel, and it's nice to know that my thoughts aren't just like sitting in the ether with no one to listen to them, because that would be kind of sad. Although that's kind of what I expected, because I was a doomer and I am no longer that. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.